The Brazilian who trolled North Korea during the World Cup. Cara, eu estou sendo analisado por um gringo com a história da Coreia do Norte. E eu fiquei muito curioso sobre isso. A partir desse momento, o chat só pode falar em inglês. Só quero ver o chat falando em... Agora, ó, mudou a chavinha. Ok, my friend? Only in English. O que estão falando de mim na gringa? Fiquei curioso. Espero que esteja falando bem, né? Toma.
The 2014 World Cup was one of the most shocking events in sports history. Now, you guys know that I'm not really a big sports guy, but I can...
Oh, peraí, cara. O cara tem 1 milhão de pessoas no canal. É um youtuber grande da gringa. Forte, hein?
get into soccer a bit every 4 years.
You're
Remember it
strong,
so clearly.
bro.
I'm sitting down in a German beer garden in Queens. I'm seated at a table in the corner with a bunch of my friends. Steins overflowing with beer, plates full of Jägerschnitzel, and the World Cup is on the TV. And none of us were ready for what we would see. The Brazilian team is defeated in the finals in their own country. Not even close, they're completely blown out of the water. They lose 8-1.
Não lembra
Beaten
disso.
by, of all teams, North Korea.
O quê? O Brasil perdeu de 8-1 pra Coreia do Norte na Copa do Mundo 2014? É verdade. É verdade.
Wait, what do you mean that that's not what happened? Germany beat Argentina in the finals. And North Korea hasn't been in a World Cup since 2010,
Ué,
in which they only scored 1 goal. Could I have possibly been bamboozled? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of how a Brazilian blogger trolled millions of people around the world as well as several news agencies, all by pretending to be North Korea.
opa! Fala dele! Tá com moral, Cid, porra!
This video is sponsored by Helix. Helix makes premium...
Opa, vamos pular. Ele não vai saber, né? Esse vídeo provavelmente vai pro canal de cortes, mas ele não vai entender português. Oh, nice, nice.
Second
nice.
Helix
Nice, nice, nice. Nice, very nice, very nice. Oh, yeah, very nice. Oh, aqui, toma.
of a small handful of uncontacted tribes, North Korea is probably the most mysterious place on Earth. The flow of information both in and out is so tightly controlled by the government. And most of what gets over here is so fraught with information and has to get corrected a million times. I mean, just think about how often we hear that Kim Jong-un is sick or dead or dying.
Clássico.
And of course, such an atmosphere of misinformation makes it a prime target for trolls. And perhaps no one has ever done a better job of this than a Brazilian blogger named Cid Cidoso. So currently,
Ó o chat!
Cid is-
Ó o chat! Ah, olha o chat aí, cara! Vocês estão famosos, chat! Porra, aí, ó! Ah, quem achou que ia ser só eu? Ó o chat aqui, que bonitinho! É, né?
So currently, Cid is an extremely popular Brazilian Twitch streamer. But previously, he was best known for his blog, Nalsalvo. Nalsalvo is a collection of comedic articles and videos created by Cid, and it would often recruit his audience to participate in certain tasks. For example, you had one that was about getting a nerd out of the friend zone. And then you had another where readers had to think of something where they would be the only Brazilian in the world doing it at any given moment.
Olha
Before
que
the North-
legal, cara! Ele pegou o post que eu já mostrei aqui um tempo atrás, até chorei vendo esse post, relembrando esse post, né? Que era um desafio aceito, que eu pedia pra pessoas do chat não, na época, galera do Não Salvo, né? Eu pedia pra galera do Não Salvo mandar fotos muito específicas de coisas muito nada a ver. E a galera mandava, né? Tipo assim, eu quero ver uma foto de uma dentadura dentro de um scanner empresarial no horário das 18h45 e os caras iam lá e tiravam a foto. O horário no relógio, a dentadura da avó dentro do scanner no trabalho. Os caras davam um jeito.
Korea prank. His most notorious prank was the Calaboca Galval prank. So during the 2010 World Cup,
Ele
you would
sabe.
sometimes see on Twitter the hashtag Calaboca Galval trending. Brazilians understood what this meant, but the tag would sometimes surface for foreigners who didn't. So Cid came up with a campaign to explain to foreigners what was going on here. Through a poster and a video narrated in English,
legal,
it
cara.
was revealed that the Galval bird was a Brazilian species that was going extinct. And by just tweeting Calaboca Galvao, which was said to mean Hail Galvao, 10 cents would be donated to the Galvao Institute. This, of course, being an organization whose goal was to preserve these birds. And it worked. The campaign was so successful that Calaboca Galvao was trending for 14 days straight. But of course, there was no such institute. And Calaboca does not mean hail. And also, there's no such bird as the Galvao. Galvao actually referred to a broadcaster, Galvao Bueno, who a lot of people found kind of annoying. Calaboca means shut up. So he had gotten thousands of English speakers to tweet at this guy they never heard of to shut up. All the while these people think they're just saving a bird. But it was his next World Cup prank that would be the most far-reaching. On July 11th, 2014, a YouTube channel named...
Lembrando que o Calaboca Galvão, que aconteceu em 2010, até hoje, 2023, é o recorde de uma hashtag por mais tempo nos Trend Topics. Passou, né, um tempinho aí. Nem o BTS, nem o Luan Santana, nem o Justin Bieber, nunca ninguém passou esse período que foram 14 dias seguidos nos Trend Topics mundial. 14 dias seguidos. Esse dado é absurdo e eu acho que, se pá, nunca ninguém vai bater.
Korea News Backup published a video showing that in 2014, a YouTube channel named Korea News Backup published a video showing that North Korea had completely blown their competition out of the water, beating Japan 7-0, USA 4-0, and China 2-0, winning their group stage. Now they would advance to the finals. Their first opponent, Portugal, who of course in reality had beaten them 7-0 in 2010. This video goes super viral with over 8 million views in just 3 days. People are seeing this and dying at how misinformed North Koreans are, because, you know, their government's feeding them all this fake news. The story gets picked up extremely quickly by news outlets, some of them mentioning in their reporting that this was most likely satirical or fake, while others initially reported that it was a real video but later corrected their articles to state that it was fake. And others were just fully convinced that this was a real thing that North Korea was telling its citizens.
Sim.
And on the surface, if you look at it, this channel looks to be a legitimate news channel.
Aí que é o pulo do gato. Quando o cara desconfiava, falava, não, peraí, esse vídeo deve ser fake. Deixa eu entrar nesse canal do YouTube. Tinham 6 meses de conteúdo em coreano. 6 meses eu atualizando conteúdo em coreano sobre notícias da Coreia do Norte.
Look at it, this channel looks to be a legitimate news channel. It has several months of what appears to be genuine but relatively unremarkable news from North Korea. News that would actually continue to be posted after this viral video. And then a few days later, on the 15th, a second North Korean soccer video would be released. This one reveals that North Korea had taken the whole World Cup, whipping Brazil like a government mule in their own backyard with a score of 8-1. It wouldn't be until July 24th, a couple weeks later, that Sid would finally come forward and take credit for the prank in an article and a video. In the article, he explains how it all came together. It was the newest entry in a series he had called Challenge Accepted. Funny enough, in the beginning of his article, he mentions another entry in the series, in which he mentions that his audience is helping him create the first scripted porn film written entirely on the internet. If you watch my channel, you know that he was actually beaten to the punch to this, because the decade prior, the Something Awful forums had written swap.avi, which is another topic that I covered on this channel. That being said though, the Brazilians were responsible for turning that dream into a reality, so I guess close enough. In any case, he notes that although he usually goes about these stunts very publicly, this particular prank made it necessary for him to work completely in secret. It begins with the creation of the channel Korea News Backup, which went a long way in selling this as a potential real thing. It had actually been created 3 months before the prank, and he wanted it to seem as if someone was intercepting a satellite signal from North Korea and uploading it to YouTube. So over the course of those months, they slowly uploaded legitimate North Korean news videos that they found. The videos were all from different sources and different time periods, but who's really gonna sit there and check all that just to verify a soccer video? And of course, neither Sid nor anybody he works with spoke fluent Korean like you would hear from a native. So we had to hire a voice actor. It was actually pretty difficult at first. He had gotten in touch with 5 different South Korean voice actors, and each of them refused because being in South Korea, they're worried about the ramifications of doing this. Finally, he wound up speaking to a person he had worked with on the Calaboca Galvao campaign, Nando Pax. He recalled that Nando had a production company that worked in multiple languages. And sure enough, through this company, he was able to secure a Korean actor.
Eu nunca tinha visto um vídeo tão bem feito sobre esse assunto. Pô, tá muito interessante, porque o cara, ele foi atrás. Ele falou do Nando Pax, o Nando Pax já participou da minha live várias vezes, né? É o meu consultor de OVNIs, ETs e coisas do tipo, né? Terra plana, conspirações e tal. Ele sempre vem aqui, mas nessa época, em 2010, o Nando Pax tinha uma empresa de tradução. Então as pessoas contratavam a empresa dele pra traduzir vídeos, fazer voz de outras línguas, né? E aí o Nando Pax pegou uma menina lá, encontrou uma menina da Coreia do Sul pra fazer a narração do vídeo que a gente subiu lá no canal.
He asked them to do a North Korean accent and they refused. And funny enough, some people who watched the video did notice that it was a South Korean accent. But for the overwhelming majority of viewers, South Korean was good enough. It was then up to his video editor, Davi, to make this thing convincing. Here's a Google translated account of all the things that went into it. There are some videos of North Korea national team games out there. Friendlies, the Asian Cup, old qualifiers, etc. There are some from state-owned newspapers in the country too. The big challenge was putting all of this together in a rough and journalistic tone. Yes, the parade had to look lame on purpose. That's how it is there. Looking like a newspaper from the 80s/90s was essential. Not to mention that the presenter's mouth should have a small delay, characteristic of satellite broadcasting copies. He'd also noted that in the section that shows North Korea fans losing their minds over Kim Jong-un, they had simply used fans of Chile because their flag has the same colors.
Porra, esse cara pesquisou muito, velho. Essa imagem aqui é uma imagem do Maracanã, a torcida do Flamengo. E aí a gente fez aqui algumas camadas em azul, que é pra parecer, ficar misturado e parecer a bandeira da Coreia do Norte. Como se fosse um estádio lotado de torcida norte-coreana. Essa era a ideia. E outras imagens, que são imagens da FanFest, eu usei imagens da FanFest do Chile. Porque as cores da bandeira do Chile são as mesmas cores da bandeira da Coreia do Norte. Então, para dar essa visão meio deturpada, né, das coisas, a pessoa olhar rápido, fala, porra, olha lá, tá acontecendo mesmo, mas são frames de 2, 3 segundos. A gente usou essas ideias de cores com países que fariam sentido, né? E o cara sacou isso, legal.
North Korea, which I guess is a step up from hiring Chinese people to pretend to be North Korea fans. But with all of this work to put this thing together, you couldn't do all that and just gamble on whether or not it goes viral. And it's not like someone's just gonna randomly stumble upon Korea news backup. And if they did do that, who's to say they're gonna sit there and actually watch the videos to find this clip? At the same time, if Sid with his reputation just shared it himself, it would be pretty obvious what was going on. So he put this task on a closed inner circle of Malsalvo readers that he called Zona. He describes them as being...
Olha só, cara! Pô, esse cara sabe da Zona, mano. A Zona era um grupo que eu tinha no Facebook dos seguidores mais malucos do Não Salvo. Assim como existe o Discord do chat, eu tinha um grupo no Facebook que era a Zona. E ficava essa galera mais fanática pelo Não Salvo. E aí, ao invés de eu divulgar o vídeo da Coreia do Norte pela minha conta, porque ia ser muito óbvio, né? A galera fala, o Cid, olha lá, é o Cid que tá postando, então é fake. Ia ficar muito óbvio. Eu usei anônimos que me seguiam no Facebook, né? Galera que gostava muito. Tinham perfis pequenos, então eu usei essa galera, pedi pra essa galera postar e mandar pra perfis específicos do Twitter. Vou ver se ele vai falar quais perfis foram esses.
So good they can even discover the color of your mother's panties without you knowing it. He had them change their Twitter avatars to cleavage to be more attention-getting. Then he would have them tweet the video at people he described as the ones who would pay the most attention to something weird happening in a communist country. Every single one of their 7 main targets shared the video in some capacity. I'm also completely...
Cara, foi exatamente isso. Eu pedi pra galera da Zona mudar o avatar pra fotos de decote, mulheres gostosas e coisas do tipo, para mandar o link do vídeo da Coreia do Norte para perfis de direita. Roger do Ultraje a Rigor, Danilo Gentili, né? Vários perfis aí que, né, tinham uma visão mais direita do negócio. Eu pedi para essa galera da Zona mandar para esses caras com foto de peitão, então eles iam ver, na tentativa desses caras replicarem. E deu certo. O primeiro grande perfil a replicar o vídeo da Coreia do Norte foi o Danilo Gentili. Outros já tinham replicado e tal, mas o primeiro maior, assim, foi o Danilo Gentili, justamente que era a nossa tática. Foi o tiro de canhão, acabou partindo dele.
Unsurprised to find that one of my friends, Brazilian YouTuber Izzy Nobre, is involved in this.
Olha Izzy Nobre.
Izzy was tasked with creating an English language Reddit thread about the video. This way, if someone was searching for it, they would now be under the impression that the story is going viral in the US. As he...
Porra, isso aqui também, eu pouco falo disso, o cara sabe. Uma das poucas pessoas que sabiam dessa trollagem era o Izzy Nobre. Porque o Izzy Nobre era um cara que morava no Canadá e tal, sabia que falava bem inglês, escrevia bem inglês e tudo mais. E aí eu pedi pro Izzy Nobre fazer um post no Reddit sobre esse vídeo da Coreia do Norte. E o Izzy Nobre foi lá e fez bonitinho, né? E ele é amigo do Izzy Nobre, então deve ter sido a ponte aí pra chegar nessa história.
Puts it, to Brazilians, if it's foreign, it's true. Ultimately, the first real news outlet to bite would be Metro. And from that point, it was only a matter of time as every site is just spinning every other site's reporting. Eventually, little by little, people would find little bits of evidence that the video wasn't legitimate. Issues such as the accent, or that archival footage from a bunch of different time periods seemed put together haphazardly, but nobody was really fully convinced one way or the other whether or not it was real or fake. And the people who did think it was fake were attributing it to sources like 4chan or South Korean forums. Nobody, not a single person, suspected that it was Sid until he just came out and admitted it. Ultimately, it does make you wonder how many of the stories we hear about North Korea may be just as fake. I mean, you could basically hear any ridiculous thing that happened in North Korea and say, hey, I mean, it's North Korea, everything's crazy over there. Up is down and down is up. Believe anything you say about them. I swear, someone's gonna take this out of context and try to say I'm a North Korea apologist or something. Anyway, I want to give a big shout out to the viewer who put me onto this story, especially since I'm pretty sure this has never been fully covered in English. He's an indie game developer who goes by Vile Vidya.
Quem que é? Olha aí, ó, o Billy, streamer software engineer, patrão não funcionário na empresa bobajada. Aí ele tá no chat aí, porra! É o Billy Mon que tá aqui no chat, caralho, olha aí, mano. Porra, Billy, arrebentou, sub de 2 meses, ele que fez aí, ó, deu a ideia pro vídeo e tudo mais. Tinha que ser alguém do chat.
Check him out on Twitter and itch.io. And if you like this video, turn on notifications and check out my other video about the Brazilian who ruined his Sega Dreamcast by nutting it.
Essa história também é famosa, né? Essa história é famosa. Eu acho que é o primeiro vídeo, assim, de um youtuber grande falando de uma maneira bem, né, bem explicativa e com várias pesquisas de coisas bem específicas, assim, né? Que é meio raro isso acontecer, normalmente a galera conta de uma maneira geral, e o próprio brasileiro às vezes tem dificuldade de explicar. Eu já vi pessoas em podcasts aleatórios tentando explicar essa história completamente errada, trocando Coreia do Norte por China, trocando Copa do Mundo por Olimpíada, né? Falando umas coisas nada com nada. Mas tudo bem, as histórias elas vão se modificando conforme as pessoas vão contando, né? Mas interessante o trabalho que esse cara fez, achei legal. 1,22 milhões de pessoas seguindo ele no YouTube, forte demais, né? Uau! Um abraço pro Izzy Nobre também, que deve ter feito a ponte aí com o cara. Um abraço pro Nando Pax também, o brabo aí da história do Cala a Boca Galvão. Esses dias eu tava conversando com o Nando Pax. Falei, e aí, Nando Pax? Como é que tá o ZT? Ele falou, saí dessa história de ET. Tô em outra. Falei, tá no quê? Bitcoin. Voa, Nando Pax, voa. Ô, Filimon, eu gostei muito desse cara aí, o Wang, que fez esse vídeo. Caso ele tenha interesse de fazer outros vídeos de outras histórias malucas do Não Salvo, né? Você me fala aí que a gente faz uma ponte junto. Chato? É nóis. É nóis.
Chamando todos os
gringos.
Chamando todos os
gringos.
Chamando todos os
gringos.